Hello, my name is Yaya. Thank you for tuning in to Trauma and God. Firstly, let me say that what happened to you is not your fault. I know personally that healing from that black cloud of trauma is possible, but it takes a long time. Just as in nature, there's always light behind a black cloud. So it is for us. God is light, and He's always there. We just have to find Him. In this series, I'll talk about things that hinder us from finding the light and things that we can do to help us overcome them. Today's subject is in fact going to be my origin story. I want to tell you a bit about myself and explain why I'm doing this vlog. At a time in history when international travel was only for the very few, my cousins swarmed around me on a visit back to Europe and said, "Oh, you're so lucky. You travel all over the world and you have such adventurous parents. I wish I was like you." Well, little did they know that I longed to be just like them, loved, safe, and treated like a valuable human being instead of tossed around the world like an old battered suitcase. They didn't know that trauma had already found a permanent home in my house. Appearances can be so deceptive. Even as a child, I presented myself as tough and carefree and happy. Underneath it all was PTSD. I was hypervigilant. I had flashbacks of terrifying memories, and I feared for my life most of the time. Not too long after this trip, fighting tossed us back to Europe as homeless, penniless, stateless refugees. Unexpected and bad things can happen to any one of us at any moment in time. Well, in social settings, my parents presented themselves as smiling in a united air of polished sophistication, with good looks and caring hearts, but they were neither caring nor smiling with us children. They lacked compassion, empathy, patience, and were totally unaware of the repercussions that their actions had on us. And for the longest time, I wished I'd not been born. I actually felt God's love for me when I was 3 years old, and I wanted to serve Him wholeheartedly ever since that moment. But my father's abuse and my parents' choices, war, refugee status, loss, all shaped my thinking in devastating ways until someone intervened to change me. In Trauma and God, I'll tell you some surprising moments when God showed Himself to me during my darkest years and how I slowly changed. Child abuse hurts on every level for a very long time, from our hopelessly muddled emotions to physical pain in our bodies. Growing up, I was like every child. I wanted to love and be loved by my parents, and I wanted to trust them. As a teenager, I believed I was evil because all my parents did was tell me how bad I was. It took a long time for me to know that what I previously saw only as random ways of dealing with my behavior were actually motivated by systematic beliefs held by my parents. Not until I was grown up did I even have a name for it. Counselors pointed out that both my parents were narcissists, and their behaviors towards me were driven by that. Finally, when I was made aware of this complex, big picture, I understood the individual events that had happened to me. I'm very introspective by nature, so why did it take so long? Well, confusion was for so long my companion. My parents made black white and white black. When I was finally in a safe relationship, I began to express my feelings and found that my emotions told me lies about myself. The same lies the parents had told me. I've had to change my thinking, or I would have killed myself because living had become unbearable. Well, God loves me and you so much, and He doesn't want to leave us in that state. All this starts with Jesus. He is the launderer's soap to wash us clean. Recently, I read in Malachi chapter 3, verse 2, "But who can endure the day of His coming?" Now, His coming is speaking of his birth over 2,000 years ago. And it continues, "And who can stand when He appears? For He's like a refiner's fire and like launderer's soap, which removes impurities and uncleanness." This is the Amplified Version. And like the launderer's soap, Jesus set to work on me to wash me clean. He came to pave the way for all of us. He stands sandwiched between us and our sin on one side and a just and holy God on the other. Without Him there, I would not be able to see God. This process of my change took a long time. It was punctuated by convoluted arguments went round and round and round in my head in ever-decreasing circles until that eureka moment when God's light and clarity came. But my most grievous errors came in placing on God my childish interpretations, presuming that God was like those who hurt me and was not watching out for me when I was most vulnerable. This error has repercussions that I still fight against. In fact, there is a constant, heavenly, ongoing battle for our souls. While many healthy voices from outside my head have been part of helping me put away childish things, my wonderful husband, counselors, friends, as wonderful and as good as human relationships are, however, they can only change the surface. Willpower can only change the surface. Doing the right things helps set us on God's track. Praying and reading the Bible permeates a bit deeper. Yet it was only when I had personal revelations of how much God loved me that I changed in the core of my being. I chronicle this difficult process of changing one set of beliefs for another in my book, Snakes in the Loo. Now, many books tell you how thought processes need to change. Many more tell us what healthy responses look like, and it's good to know. But I found that not many describe the process of getting from the good side, or from the bad side, I should say, to the good side. Like in my book, my vlogs will look unflinchingly at how messy it can be in the middle, when you're screaming out in pain, when you feel like you'll drown in your sorrows and there's just no way out. I want to take the mystique out of this horrible, middle, messy part of change, passing on to you hope and courage to go through your changes in whatever way God speaks to you. Following God wholeheartedly means trusting Him when things you want don't happen. When bad things happen and threaten to overwhelm you, God isn't Father Christmas or Santa Claus. God is God of the whole universe. He doesn't do our will, we do His. He made us and has loved us since before our birth. He has a plan for each of us. God is for us and loves us so much. He does not want to leave us the way we are. Well, this God who loves me so much set to work unraveling me. My old foundation crumbled, and I'm now unraveled, and I'm trying to build a new foundation on God's truth. I'm still far from perfect. I still have PTSD. I am more aware of my triggers, which is a good thing. I still feel fat and ugly, but not as resolutely. There's hope for me. On the positive side, I no longer feel deeply sorrowful, angry, unloved, distrustful, invisible, unheard, confused, unprotected, and hopeless. I have hope. In this process, I have become a better version of myself, and with God's help, this will continue. My heart is to help you become hope-filled and a better version of yourself. Nothing can separate us from the love of God, not being traumatized or abused, unwanted and unloved. Neither war nor refugee status, not the worst that a human being can inflict on us. Absolutely nothing. God is for you, and so am I. Tune in next Thursday at 10 a.m. and I will continue talking more about this journey of finding hope. Thank you for listening. Please tell others if this has touched you. Reach out and talk to someone if you feel this has stirred things in you. The Suicide and Crisis Helpline is 1-800-273-TALK. The Rape, Abuse and Incest National Network website, RANDS, is 1-800-656-HOPE. And there are other helplines that you can reach out to as well. Remember, God is for you, and so am I. Thank you for listening.